Welcome to our weekly Forex forecast. Before we get started, I need to point out that trading is a risky endeavor and not suitable for all investors. My name is Jay Norris. I've written a couple of books on trading which were published by McGraw-Hill and serve as the textbooks for our courses. And I'm also the Director of Education at Trading University. First market we'll be covering is the Australian US dollar. You can see that day-to-day pattern. Pretty tough there, holding strong. You got one close above resistance there. On the other hand, we know we need two. You can't just have one close above there, especially midweek. You need two. Ideally, you want to see where you close on the week. So we saw weekend weakness here. A little counter trend move on Friday. That's almost getting to be typical on Friday. So wouldn't write off the upside on this market. On the other hand, it appears to me on the long side that there's easier pockets to pick here. Aussie dollar, showed some strength all week, but then it kind of fizzled at the end of the week. So I think there's more opportunities on the upside in the yen pairs. Keep in mind the primary's still up, secondary's up also. I think at some point between now and month end, you're going to get a pretty good longer term buy signal here. We'll have to see. Next market, the euro US dollar. Euro was kind of flat all week, and then they really drilled it on Friday. We know that. We're on record having pointed out that the sell signals here, and here, all those sell signals you have, if you put your stop up there, you're in good shape now. It took a long time to develop, but you're seeing weakness. And overall, you could see, too, that the primary pattern is down. Pop out to your weekly chart, and you can see the grand pattern is also down. Look at that big grand pattern down. So the euro on the upside, it's been a pretty good distraction, essentially. I think the euro is a great trading vehicle. You get in there, you can crank out some pretty good moves, pretty good volatility. It's still priced at 128. That's a good price to it. It's definitely going to be more volatile than a lot of pairs because it just happens to be more expensive than them, particularly the Aussie pairs. But on the other hand, it can be a bit of a distraction. I think there's a lot easier pockets to pick out there. Euro, on the other hand, what's nice about it is if you like trading bear markets, you're going to love this market, I think, going forward. Because once this day-to-day pattern does finally give way, you're going to see everything shift back in line with that primary and that grand pattern. So if you like bear markets, if you tend toward being a pessimist in your trading, this guy will be the market to focus on. Next market, pound dollar. Pound dollar is showing some pretty good strength lately. I see that as strength. I see that this shallow retracement overall is a positive for this market. And here's a market where I'm confident somewhere between now and month end you're going to get a nice buy signal, and we'll bring it to you. We'll highlight that, or we'll put out an article about it when it gets there. Holding tough, though. Pretty shallow retracement. I think long term you have some positives here, particularly when you look at it in terms of technical analysis. You take out that trend line. Well, I think you've already taken out this trend line. And I think there's some room up above. On the outside, you got a shot at 170 this year. That's going to be a pretty good move. That's 1,000 pips from where it is now. So as far as the correction lower, the steeper the better. The cheaper the better on this guy, because I think at some point you're going to see 170 on that chart, and that's all the way up there. So looking forward to when this correction runs its course. Pound dollar. Hey, let's look at pound yen, because I'm really excited about the yen pairs. And excited about pound dollar too. Now you can see here you've got all the way up to resistance. I'm not all that concerned about that resistance. It's just a line on a chart. I think these patterns are aligned nicely. You got a lot of nice things going for this market. Here's the weekly chart. In my estimation, I think at some point in the coming new year that we'll see the 09 highs. That's all the way up above 160. I think between now and year end you'll probably go after the 2011 highs. That's all the way up at 140. So that's a potentially a pretty big rally that we're looking at. Really like pound yen here. I like the idea of buying dips. As a day trader too, this is a really nice product. I suspect I'm bulled up on pound yen. Any kind of correction lower, any kind of setback here would be welcome. Would be a welcome opportunity to buy a dip in what looks to be an overall uptrend. Let's just go right to the dollar yen too, because that has me very excited also. I just wrote an article titled "The Yen is the New Alpha Market." If you go ahead and Google that, you can find that article online. Love the yen. When was the last time you saw stock market weakness, gold weakness and a strong dollar yen. You haven't. Essentially, you haven't. What happens anytime in the past we've had weak stock market, we've had a strong yen, we've had a weak dollar yen. This is telling me that there's definitely a shift going on. You had a strong dollar yen versus a weak gold market, a weaker to stable stock market. To me, that tells me fear is coming out of the markets. We're starting to see these markets normalize. I'm not that concerned with stock market weakness lately because overall the stock market's held up. It needs to correct. I think potentially we're at the beginning of a secondary correction in the gold market. Well, you're probably into it now. Likewise, this stock market, I'm not concerned if the stock market corrects. It probably needs to correct between here and year end. But this guy, this is the story. Dollar yen on the upside. Look at the weekly chart. So very, very strong. Friday, yesterday was very telling. November 2nd, that at the end of the day, you had a sharply lower gold market. You had a sharply lower U.S. stock market, although it was stable for the weak U.S. stocks, and you had a very strong dollar-yen market, uncharacteristically strong dollar-yen market. That's telling us that this shift is the real deal. We were a little slow to buy into it. We didn't quite like it here. It made that lower low. You took some stops out. Really liking dollar-yen on the upside. Go ahead and Google the yen is the new alpha market. You'll see my article. I just wrote about that. Speaking of the U.S. stock market, let's cover it. There you go. You can see that's a daily chart. So very much you're in a healthy market. Primary pattern up, secondary pattern definitely up. Day-to-day, however, did shift last week, and that was interesting for us. That set the day traders up to sell rallies, and they certainly were able to do that. If you look at a hourly chart here, you see a nice top that the day traders were able to get in there and sell that. I'd rather wait for, here's back to the daily, I would rather wait for dip to buy in line with the overall pattern. So sure, we could see some more stock market weakness here. Not a big deal. Much needed correction. And even if you decided to challenge, pull back and test secondary pattern support and take that market down in here, down even towards 1350, 13 and a quarter. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's a necessary correction. If anything, we'll have to see. But overall, stock market's still strong. That's going to support that dollar-yen market also. Hey, here's the gold market. We'll cover it as long as we touched on it. Big down day for gold, right? Big down day for gold. So I think there'll probably be more where that came from. I think, as I said, you're in the midst of a secondary correction. Essentially, you had a day-to-day correction. I think that's going to extend itself, and you're going to see more of a secondary correction. Take a look at that in the weekly. I'm not going to forecast it, but you can see there's plenty of room down below. Hey, back to my guy dollar yen. All this is very supportive. Stock market correction included is supportive of dollar yen, the new alpha market. Hey, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.